somebody's curious about. I know this is very on brand for Alpha Flight and Kathleen, but does anybody have a favorite album?
Here you go, chat. You can have my shoe.
Nice, chat. You got Steph's shoe,
Hey.
but only one of them.
Only
Only
one.
one shoe.
Only one shoe.
The good comms give it, but not that much.
Yeah,
They also do take away.
Yes.
yeah, quite often.
Great.
Anybody have albums of the year?
Shoe.
Anybody got like an album that came out this year that they particularly loved? Doesn't have to be your favorite album, but maybe one that stood out to you, that you enjoyed, that you would like to tell chat about, that maybe they can go and check out?
I have one.
Yeah.
Move forward slightly. I actually don't know if it came out this year or not, but I definitely first ran into them this year, and that is Darlingside, who are a fantastic four-piece folk band that I ran into at the Edmonton Folk Music Festival and started listening to their music because they were just really nice to the volunteers. I have priorities as a volunteer at something as to who I do and don't support, and their music is absolutely fantastic.
Nice. Anybody else, Johnny? You listen to? I have zero idea what kind of music Johnny listens to.
I really liked the new Tool. No,
You're allowed to like the new Tool album.
I have no feelings for or against Tool.
All right.
No, I really like this is kind of a little off-brand, but I really like the new Kesha album.
All right.
It was just like, it's kind of a classic Phoenix Rising kind of. So almost all the music is about the challenges she faced under her oppressive old contract and her terrible ex-manager,
Yep.
and her just coming out of it. And it also just proves how she can make really catchy, great, fun pop songs that are still full of feeling, and they're not all just, it had nothing to do with the people in the contract she was under, and when given the opportunity to do whatever she wants, she made something really not only poignant but also tons of fun.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that was the first thing that popped to mind because I did know that came out this year.
Nice. Colin, you got anything?
Yeah, it's not, the music itself isn't necessarily new, but the version of the album is. They did the album for the full on-Broadway version of Hadestown came out this year, and I've really enjoyed that. For those who don't know, Hadestown is originally a concept album, but now a play that essentially takes the myth of Orpheus and translates it into almost like a sort of Depression-era America setting.
Okay.
And yeah, it's just got beautiful music in it.
It is very good.
Yeah.
Cool. Dan?
Not music. I don't actually listen to a lot of music these days because I really only listen to things when I'm driving. But I've actually gotten into audio dramas recently.
Okay.
So, let's see here. I've gone through Wolf 359, The Bright Sessions, We Steal the Stars, and We Fix Space Junk. And so it's kind of a lovely mix. It's all sci-fi. That's what I tend to listen to in general. And then it's been this interesting mix between drama and comedy. And those are really all of those are really well done.
Cool.
They've all held my attention.
Yeah.
Tabby,
Yo.
you got an album that came out this year that you particularly liked?
So, I'm weird where I never remember names of music I like. I just like what I like.
All right.
And then I also have an issue listening to a lot of music because it brings out a lot of emotion. I get very, I don't know what a word, triggered, I guess, by music sometimes. I could be in the greatest mood ever and I'll listen to some music and I'll just cry for no reason. So I love listening to music, but I don't listen to it often, if that makes sense.
All right.
Unless I go out and I'll go dancing or something. So yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Steph.
I partially actually came out here to answer this question because I've been super mainlining the album from the the name of the game just left my head. Sayonara Wild Hearts.
Oh yeah, that game was
I've been
phenomenal.
listening to that non-stop almost for a little while now because it's just really good working music. And it's very pretty.
All right. Serge.
Hi.
Is there
Album
an
of the year.
album? It doesn't even need to be album of the year. Just an album that came out this year that you liked.
I don't consume music that way.
Okay.
He's a pod person.
Yeah, he's a pod person. But
Pod person. No.
how do you consume music?
Do you just put it up your nose?
I mean, this is a guy whose car I got into yesterday and was tuned to the UVix radio station, and it's just that's an experience. Is that channel?
The hard thing is I listen to a lot of just internet music, just like whatever playlist is on, Google Music or something like that.
Sure.
And so oftentimes I'm just sort of passively listening to whatever's on there as opposed to be like, this is a new band, I'm going to check out an album they played to, whatever. It's very passive, it's in the background. I listen to a lot of music, but I couldn't tell you what a lot of it is because it's something that accompanies me while I'm doing other things.
Yep.
As
That's fair.
opposed to something that is the focal point of what I'm doing, if that makes sense.
I think so. That's fair.
Yeah, so I can't say like I put on I love Flume is probably the main thing I listen to, which is sort of an electronic. Yeah, I don't believe they have a vocalist. They'll bring a lot of other vocalists in there, and then I hit Flume on Google Radio, and then 6 hours later I turn it off. Or if I'm perfectly honest, the majority of content that I consume is Twitch streams.
Right.
And if there's music on in that, I listen to what that's on, but it's what I'm watching, right?
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right.
What about you, James?
Yeah, I was gonna say one that.
Now you're very into music.
I am. I like music a lot. I don't think my music tastes are fairly.
Eclectic.
They're eclectic, but they're also generally pretty mainstream. Nothing like super out there. And
Probably
one.
not a lot of overlap with Kathleen.
No, Kathleen. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some overlap, but not much.
The Venn diagram touches.
It's there, but it's not huge. One album that I really liked this year was Cage the Elephant's album Social Cues, which came out earlier this year, and that's just like a solid like modern rock, lot of fun, very catchy, very upbeat, really great. It's just really great production. It just sounds really good. And I don't know if it's necessarily my album of the year, but it's probably up there. The other one that I really like this year, which I like talking about because the reason I like it so much is because the album was also accompanied by a book, was
Really?
Tegan and Sarah's new
yeah.
album. And I've always been a fan of Tegan and Sarah. They're a Canadian duo from Calgary, and they're great, and they've been making music for a very long time now. But I've always been like, I know their singles, and I've probably listened to their albums a few times here and there. But this year they came out with a new album. I can't remember exactly what it's called. But they also came out with a book that goes along with it. And the book is a collection of stories from their years in grade 10, 11, 12. Growing up in Calgary as two young queer women, and just talking about what that was like and their experiences. And it was just a really great read, super interesting, very, very fun, very well put together. But the album is composed of songs that were written at that time period, but obviously punched up, rearranged a little bit here and there, taking the 15, 20 years of experience that they have now to really drive that record home. So I cannot recommend both the book and the album enough. I think yes, thank you. You should do both. They're both great, and the album is good, but it gets so much better if you've read the book. Like,
Interesting.
it's so much better if you read the book.
If I may, very quickly, James.
Yeah.
Only a couple minutes remaining in the $5.99 Dagger of Time.
Nice.
So please, if you're interested in that, your window to donate is shrinking rapidly. So you should do so.
You
because
should.
It's very good.
So $5.99 to get that Dagger of Time.
Yep.
And included, of course, is the doubloon, which you cannot get anywhere else.
So Cyclops Boy, actually, I'm just going to make this a period of time where we're just going to recommend stuff.
Oh, okay.
Podcast, Serge. Recommend a podcast.
North 100.
Not your own podcast.
I don't listen to podcasts.
All right.
I do not. I don't. I've never listened to podcasts. I'm not a podcast person.
Okay.
All right. Emily?
Blizzard Watch's Lore Watch podcast if you are a fan of Warcraft lore.
All right, Julie.
Small Town Dicks.
Okay, what's it
Pardon?
about?
Small Town USA True Crime hosted by Yardley Smith.
All right,
Oh, I'll have to check that one.
Tabby.
I listen to My Favorite Murder and Reply All. Those are
Those are the two ones.
the two podcasts I like.
Stephanie.
I listen to mostly the McElroy stuff, so
Yeah.
like I'm a Bim Bam, Adventure Zone, Sawbones, and the Serial podcast, which I can't remember the name of right now because it's just Serial that Justin does. But yeah, that's
I thought you were talking about the true crime.
no,
series. I was like, that is a lot of
no,
different
it's.
stuff. I know what you mean.
But yeah, and like other than that, I listen to witch podcasts because
Nice.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Johnny.
I listen to so many right now. Punch Up the Jam is amazing. If you you should listen to the back catalog of that. The episode I saw live of them punching up Ghostbusters was probably the funniest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. They had Neil Cicerella on there.
Of course, sure.
Yo,
It
right
was
on.
so good. And, but I've been listening to a lot of You're Wrong About, which
Okay.
is a podcast about how they take usually relatively modern, like within the last 20 or 30 years, historical something that's happened mostly in America, and one host does a ton of research on it, and the other one goes in fairly cold, and they ask the second host what they remember about it, and then tell them and the audience how the narrative around that is wrong. And they do things like about, like some really heavy stuff, but some very funny stuff as well. They did one about sex work. They did one about just recently that I think it was actually a repeat that I hadn't heard before about babysitters. It was mostly about what are like myths, like what are myths of like societal myths.
Urban myths?
Urban legends.
Ah,
They did an
urban legends.
episode,
Yeah.
and then they had this whole section about babysitters, and it went into this big topic about babysitters, how they were trying to unionize, and how that like the backlash against babysitters was really a lot to do with the fact that they were trying to unionize because their working conditions were so bad. And I had never heard anything about that. Anyway, You're Wrong About is an amazing podcast. You should check it out. It is really well done. And the woman who's the co-host of it, she's writing a book about the Satanic Panic, which I'm so looking forward to reading.
It's a great podcast. Also, did anyone already say ologies?
No.
Because I just remembered ologies. I'm way behind, but it's very cool. It's like she interviews experts on very, very specific subjects, and it's great. From like science to not science, like everything.
Cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
If you are at all interested in Indigenous issues in Canada, CBC's Unreserved
That's
is
really good.
excellent.
Very well done.
Or if you're not, you should be.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do I got? I mean, I've made no. I haven't tried to hide the fact that I'm obviously a fan of the Greene brothers.
Yeah.
So their podcast I really like, which is just Dear John and Hank, or Dear Hank and John, which is a lot of fun. Very similar to McElroy's, brothers hanging out, answering questions, having fun. And then I actually what's Dax Shepard's podcast? Hold on, Armchair Expert. Dax Shepard, husband of Kristen Bell,
I was just gonna say.
has been doing a podcast for a couple of years now, where it alternates between interviewing celebrities or interviewing people who are incredibly good in their lines of profession, doctors, people like that, right? Like very intelligent, smart people who can come in and talk to really important issues, which is great. But I'm not a big fan of. I've never really been a big like celebrity person. I don't like celebrity all that much. I don't seek out celebrity news and gossip, but I do obviously, like a lot of people, find that world fascinating. And they have just legitimately honest and real conversations about, what that life is like, and, what it can do to a person, and the issues that you face when you're in, you're known by, millions or literally billions of people around the world. And it's just super fascinating. I really like the trend that's happening both in podcasts and on YouTube of the long form interview. I love when people sit down and have a real conversation with each other. Late night talk show, it's fun, but it's fluff. It's meaningless. It's just an ad. And sometimes it can get kind of real, but more often than not, it's just 10 minutes of, hey, I made this new movie, talking point. All right, see you later, go to their movie next week. But with stuff like these podcasts, the Hot Wings, YouTube, even that, like I understand that, sometimes you want to have a hook with your interview show, and that works really well. And I like the long form interviews. I like really, diving into the nitty gritty. I think it's a lot of fun.
Have you listened to much of Conan Needs a Friend?
I also listen to Conan Needs a Friend.
Which I think is a great overlap of what you're saying, because
Yes.
of course he's a late night talk show host, but also decided to do like really in-depth
And
ones.
what I really like about Conan Needs a Friend actually is, again, it's on the shorter side. Dax's podcasts are generally like 90 minutes, whereas Conan you get maybe like 50 with the guest, but they have legitimate real conversations with each other, and like you get to actually see what Conan's like when he kind of turns it down a little bit. Like there's still goofs, like they still have fun, but you dial it back and have legitimate real conversations. It's super interesting.
Did you listen to the one with Dave Letterman?
I sure did.
When he told the story about him giving him a horse?
Yep.
It's one of the funniest stories I've ever heard.
It's a very good
so
story.
ridiculous.
All right, one last final recommendation, roundhouse, and then we're going to draw the winner. Serge.
Yo.
YouTube channel. Give me a YouTube channel that maybe people at home don't know about that they should check out. And even if they do know, it's fine.
YouTube, not necessarily Twitch, but that's
YouTube,
fair.
yeah.
I watch a lot of Minecraft YouTube, which is interesting. And there's a collective group known as the Hermits. There's a show a bunch of different YouTubers contribute to called Hermitcraft, which I enjoy a lot. And something interesting I've noticed about that is it's not necessarily how-to tutorials. It's not like, this is how I'm going to build this house or this redstone. They're often sometimes doing very silly little bits inside of it too, like characters and stuff like that. In particular, I'm a fan of Mumbo Jumbo, False Symmetry, and Iscal 86. I believe are good examples of that. So if that sounds like the sort of thing you want to do, worth mentioning, if you're a parent and your kids are into it, they're all rather family friendly.
Yes.
So that's kind of cool. If you're more into the technical side of just how broken can this game get, what kind of contraptions can they make, there's a group of people called Psycraft, which is all about
Those
being
folks
like,
are incredible.
it's ridiculous. They're just like, what are the absolute limits you could take to this? It's like, if I remove every single thing blocking me, how efficient can I make a slime farm? And you're just like, what? It's ridiculous. So what else do I watch on that isn't just our content?
You're good. You gave one.
Yeah,
You're
okay,
good. You're good.
yeah.
Emily.
Eric and I watch Bon Appetit together.
Still
Nice.
So particularly Brad, who has been dubbed a very delightful golden retriever of a man.
Hey Vinny, who's better than us, Vinny? That's right, nobody. Hey Vinny, put the camera down. I'm bleeding over here. Vinny, give me a hand.
So Eric and I watch
That's
a lot
so
of
great.
Bon Appetit together.
So apparently I got Iskel's name off
Is
by
it-
one. It's
is it-
Iskel 85 and I said 86.
Nice. That's on brand. That's on brand.
How?
Tabby.
I only watched 2 things so far on YouTube because it's kind of like a new thing
That's fair.
to me, I guess.
Yeah.
Not really, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I just watch it to kind of, if I'm in a mood that I need to be brought out of. It's kind of nonsense channels, but it's Brandy TV, which she eats things that enlightens her mind, if you understand what I'm saying.
Okay,
And,
sure.
And then she'll do things like take things from around her house and make a costume, like makeup and stuff. And it's just funny to watch because she's under the influence of edibles and trying to do this, right? And it's just funny to watch. It just makes me laugh. Like, her laugh is very contagious. And there's another one called Davey504, and he's a bassist in Italy. And his editing I like a lot. It's just hilarious to me. So he plays the bass and he does silly things like he'll go on Fiverr and pay people to play a bass line and see like how close they can get it to his, or a very hard bass line to see if they can even do it. And he does different levels, like he'll pay someone $5 and then he'll go all the way up to $100 to see if they can do it.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's what I watch.
Before we continue to Johnny here, hey,
Hey.
how's it going? Come on
Oh
in.
my goodness, welcome.
Yo.
Let me introduce you to Skyler.
Hey, Skyler.
I don't think I've met any of you before. I'm Skyler.
Hi,
I
Skyler. I'm
love
James.
your
Hi,
outfit
I've
so
learned all of
much.
your names instantly.
Good.
Skyler, did we maybe meet at the gaming convention
Shucks.
last
Shucks?
year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
You met Tabby before, I think. Yeah.
Now, you two were on here last night.
We were
Maybe.
actually. We came over.
I don't think so.
We came. Hi, I'm Mike Skyler. This is Skyler Woods.
Same.
There we go.
Nice to see you guys.
We came over to be on for 30 minutes last night.
Yep.
We left at
Yep.
midnight.
And we were on for 4 hours.
Nice. Yeah.
So Desert Bus happened.
So,
Yeah.
so we were a desert bus,
Yeah.
right? A lot happened last night.
Yeah, it normally does.
What?
I wanted to know what happened.
Yeah.
here.
What is this?
So a little something called Zeta happened.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
our overnight crew, and
They took over right as we left.
Yeah.
and we haven't had the heart to undo it. You know,
It looks good.
It looks
I think it's
very-
great.
yeah.
It's chaos, is
It's
what
an
it is.
artistic
that's Zeta.
license and-
That's an excellent word to describe
I
Zeta.
think Beach might have taken to heart. I had a little bit of a rant about how that they had used pins to put faces. Alex had put like pie faces in the center of the thing, and I was like, we reuse those every year. Why are you putting pins in them? And he was just like, you just watch what I'm gonna do to them tonight. So
Just watch.
Challenge accepted.
I don't think you put any extra pins in anyone except for Zeta.
Yeah. It's more like a Zeta's like aggressive now,
yeah.
which is weird for a Zeta.
Yeah.
But
It's not weird for our Zeta.
No, not at all.
I just thought it was exciting.
It is. It's very cool.
well, we're very happy to be back.
Yay!
All right.
I'm still enamored by the bus, and I want to know why it's dark now.
Oh, so something you might not see a lot is there's actually different time cycles within the game. You start off and it's daytime, and then it approaches dusk, and then there's nighttime. And something that's very interesting, the QA testers never played long enough to see what happens after night. It never goes back to daytime.
Ever.
Eventually, you just get stuck in a dusk and night cycle forever unless you crash. We've gotten 2 points thus far, so we've played for about 17 hours consecutively since our last crash, which is great. And welcome to Forever Night, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, I haven't met you before, by the way. Skyler, Serge, very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, good to see you again, Mike. How are you doing? friend?
Always a pleasure, sir.
Yeah.
Everything's good.
We're just chatting about YouTubes. Johnny, I think it was your turn.
Sure.
And then who knows what's going to
So,
happen.
favorite YouTube channels that you're watching right now?
Oh, sure.
So, like, Bon Appetit, I've been watching a ton of, so that was kind of stole mine. But I really like the catering show.
Okay.
That's really funny, keeping on that food thing. But I also watch a lot of Mikey's stuff, like
Yeah.
specifically
Filmjoy?
the Filmjoy stuff.
Yep.
I watch a lot of that. I just like his really positive takes on movies and the joy that he has for filmmaking.
Nice.
And he'll be on. After
He will be.
He will be. That's
Yeah.
a segue.
Stephanie.
I was actually also going to plug Filmjoy because Mikey is a lovely friend of mine and I love him very much, and I
Yay.
absolutely wanted to plug his channel because it's super, super great. Also, another friend that's also is here is Carrie Playframe.
Nice.
Yeah.
Both of their channels are very good. I especially love the videos where Dan is breaking down animations in video games because it's a view into a video game that I don't ever get to see, like that kind of detail because I don't make video games. But like I'm artistic, so I'm an artist, so like I enjoy getting to kind of see what they do.
Behind the scenes.
I'm gonna be honest. I basically live my life on YouTube. We canceled our words.
Cable?
Our cable. Thank you. And after that, we basically I just consume mostly YouTube at this point.
That's fair.
But I was trying to think. There's a channel that I really like, and it's super soothing. It's called Lofty Pursuits. It is a channel of this little shop called Lofty Pursuits. They're in Florida, and it's this guy. He will just put videos up of him making hard candy in the old way with old machines. Like he goes out of his way to find machines that are as old as humanly possible. He does old, it's so good. And also the candy, you can order it from anywhere and it is so good.
Ben and Molly gave me some of the candy from there a little while. There was a dill pickle candy, and I was
Yes.
like, "This is weird," and it was actually quite good.
Wow.
I've gotten so much candy from them, and it is very, very
It's a very
good
cool
candy.
YouTube channel.
Cool. I'm going to shout out some fellow Canadian, although they live in the States, vloggers. Their channel is Becky and Chris. They are sort of like, just your sort of standard daily vlogger. They're not daily vloggers, but sort of, personal life vlogging. And then they do a lot of photography tutorials and editing, stuff like that. But right now, why I really want to plug them is that they are in the process of releasing a 6-episode series called Cold Island, where I love that it's running in tandem with RoadQuest, because there's these 2 Canadian YouTube channels who are on the opposite sides of the continent doing these massive journeys.
Oh, cool.
But they're doing theirs in a helicopter.
Oh,
Their budget is so much better than ours.
so
I could
he-
have got us helicopters had I known.
Yeah, so they own their own helicopter, and
Jeez.
like it's not like it's the kind of helicopter a person would own, not some ridiculous chopper. But anyways, they're doing this journey all over Newfoundland, because that's where they're from, and it is gorgeous. It is unbelievably well edited, and I really recommend that you go check it out. It's 6 episodes. They're 5 in, and if you are enjoying RoadQuest, which is the thing that we're doing right now, I think that you're not right now, but that we're currently airing. I think that you're gonna like this. It's a little, obviously, it's just the 2 of them, so it's a lot more vloggy style, but there's gorgeous cinematography. And the drone work in this. Oh, episode 6 is out as of 3 hours ago, so
Cool.
I'll be watching that later today.
Very cool.
The drone work. The guy Chris learned how to do first-person drone work for this show, I think, basically, and his camera work with the drone is phenomenal. Like, it's unbelievable. I love it, and I would definitely recommend going over and checking it out. Julie, you ran out here.
I did. Steve 1989.
Steve,
Yeah.
1989. Heck yeah.
He's had botulism twice.
See, I only know that channel because
Cameron?
Alex and Cameron.
Yeah.
He's just so he reviews. He obtains. Yes, he reviews botulism strains. He reviews. So he's the full channel name
Into
is
the camera.
Steve 1989 MRE Info. And yeah, he acquires and eats and reviews military ration
that guy.
kits of all origins and ages.
Yep. Yeah, this guy eats kits from the First World War.
I think the oldest thing he's reviewed is actually a brick of Civil War hardtack.
What?
And not only does he and he finds everything like he will not like call anything terrible.
No.
Everything is he
Interesting.
finds the good in everything, and I love it. It's amazing. And he's super chill.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like it's not just like he could be doing anything. He's got like
Mm-hmm.
the most soothing voice on the planet. He's also jacked.
Yep, super jacked, and he is the definition of like his production is super basic.
Yep.
Like it's just very clearly he's got a camera that he's had for probably a very long time,
Yep.
and he's got more or less 2 shots: the
Yep.
table or a wide shot of him where he can eat and you can watch him react, and that's it. It's really great. Highly recommend.
I think one of his most recent vids is like an hour and a half long because he does like a whole like 24-hour pack.
Yeah.
Does he eat the entire MRE or just
He
taste
does.
it?
Nope. Yep. Eats the
Everything.
And he's
whole thing.
jacked? Because there's a lot of calories in those.
Right?
Yep.
Like the first time I actually saw it cut away from like just his hands preparing the food to like suddenly, face and body cam, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Mike?
Oh, let's see. So these are shows of
Like
friends.
a YouTube channel that you think that
Okay.
people would be better off
Okay.
knowing exists than don't.
Yeah, so we mentioned Shucks before, so my friends at Shut Up and Sit Down do. So I probably shouldn't say this, but I don't read or watch game reviews ever.
Okay,
especially
sure.
of my stuff.
That's probably just really smart.
It's just
Probably
not,
healthy.
like, it's not a genre. It's not a genre of writing that I enjoy, except when these guys do it, because they basically make a movie every time they review a game, and it is amazing. They're also the nicest people.
Yeah.
They're from something called England, and
For some reason, they've decided to have their convention
in Canada,
in Vancouver every year.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
amazing.
Exactly.
They come all the way over from England
Yeah.
and just have a convention in Vancouver.
So I love those guys, and they're great, and I highly recommend watching them. They reviewed my game Lords of Vegas drunk,
Yeah.
which was very funny. Let's see, some other friends of mine, the guys over at Sports at SB Nation, make videos called like Rewinder and stuff like that. Even if you're not a sports fan, the drama that they put into these things of like, here is a moment that happened and we're going to analyze it for 35 minutes before we show you that it happened is unbelievable. They did a thing called Weird Rules, where, for example, in Australian rules football, you can get penalized for having too many men on the field. You have 18 people on your side, so if you have a 19th, you get penalized. And when you do, you lose your entire score for the whole game.
Oh.
What?
And scores are like, in Australian rules football, are like 217 to 9, right? I mean, like, and you can lose 217 points for having an extra 19th person on a stretcher, mind you. That's fine.
How?
And that could happen at the end of the game.
It can happen, yeah, it can happen any time in the game. And so they do these, Ryan Simmons.
It's Australian rules.
Yeah, really.
That's
Ryan-
how
upside
Ashton
down.
does Pong rules. He just enforces violently.
Yeah, there was a rewinder on. So they do like these sort of mini documentaries, and one of the rewinders, as Chat pointed out, was on Space Jam. And the moment when Michael Jordan extends his arm over the basket,
Yeah.
right, is the critical moment in that movie. And they analyze everything that led up to that point. So
funny.
it's fantastic. So I watched every single video they ever produce. And then finally, Atomic Game Theory by Rich Molina.
Yeah.
Is if you like games, I hope you like games. If you like games, and you want to figure out why you do the dumb things you do in every game that you play, Rich knows that, right? So I write a series of columns on politics and game theory, and Rich sort of figures out what the actual theory is behind Scrabble or any other game, and you realize, God, I do that all the time. Why do I do that? And he'll go, oh, because you're dumb like this. And
And you didn't get enough attention from your mother.
it's pretty much, it all really comes down to that. So yeah, those are some things. So yeah.
Skyler.
I've been racking my brain the entire time you've been talking, and the only YouTube channel I watch consistently is my 12-year-old nephew's.
Nice. I mean, that's great.
I actually cannot remember his username because he changes it every 3
no.
days.
That's the way to YouTube.
Yeah. Build that brand.
The brand identity. I like it. That's really funny.
Yeah, I helped him set up his YouTube channel, and I realized that he's the only person I have with a bell on, and it pops up, and I watch each one of them, and they're all terrible. And I don't know. It's his art. I support him.
I watched one of them with you. They are staggering. If you can find the URL,
Yeah, I know.
and find the channel name, it definitely should share because they are all genius.